So Game of Thrones Season 6 Episode 5 was arguably one of the greatest episodes of the whole season so far, and today I'm going to break it down. Okay, so we start the episode at the Wall, where Sansa, as you can see, has just received a raven with a letter from Peter Baelish, and as you all know, the last time we saw him, he was at the Vale with Lord Royce and Sweet Robin. Now, somehow, he has managed to move himself to Molestown, which isn't very far south of the Wall, so he can meet Sansa and somehow manage to persuade her or apologise to her for obviously what he put her through. So Sansa goes to meet Peter just south of the Wall in Molestown. Obviously she's accompanied by Brienne, her own personal bodyguard now, which is pretty cool because in this situation Sansa is the one in total control of the situation. Obviously Peter kind of knows what she's been through, but she tempts him, kind of teases him. So he has to try and reveal what he knows about what happened. She obviously tells him how he abused her, I don't think she told him that he raped her, but I'm pretty sure Peter figures that out for himself. Now, she kind of plays with her emotions, tells him that he could, or she could easily tell Brienne to kill him right now, but she thinks, nope, she's probably better off with his life some point in the future. Now, he tries to get onto her good side again by telling her that he has the forces of the Vale that could come into the fray and to help her, but Sansa refuses. Not too sure why, because the army sizes that I have at the Wall aren't very large compared to those of the Bolton, so I'm pretty sure in the future Peter will come back out of nowhere despite Sansa refusing his help to save them in the future, and that's kind of how he will make up a little bit anyway, for what he has put her through with Ramsay. So that's pretty cool. But then at the end, just as Peter's about to leave, they kind of equal out, so they're not facing each other anymore, they're side by side. So Sansa has to turn her head that time, which kind of puts Peter on the upper foot, and he slyly says, "Your half-brother," when talking about Jon, because obviously Sansa's been referring to him as his brother, as her brother, and now Peter says it's her half-brother, which kind of makes Sansa a little bit edgy and, kind of makes her worry, like, you know what, he is just my half-brother and not my whole brother. So it kind of, Peter kind of manipulates her a little bit, which does come to some kind of use in the future of this episode. And now we head back over to Braavos, where Arya is still training with the Waif. Now I say training, the Waif is basically just beating the shit out of her with her stick, without her stick, she drops it. Arya's got her stick and still trying to beat her up, but the Waif is pretty much dodging every single shot. Now that reminded me a lot of the fight with Khal Drogo back a few seasons ago when he had to fight one of the Dothraki, ripped his throat out without even using a weapon, killed him with his own weapon, which is pretty cool. That is what that reminded me of when she was ducking and diving, evading her stick. That was pretty cool as well. But then the Waif, knocks her out, or knocks her to the floor, and then she makes a comment about Arya always being a Stark, which I didn't really like, to be honest, but I'm a little bit sure she did kind of like that as well, because I'm 99% sure she will eventually go back to being Arya Stark in the future. So that was good as well. And then we move over to Jaqen, who takes her to the Hall of Faces again, gives her a little reminder about how it all started, the history of the Hall of Faces, and the history of Braavos and all of that good stuff. And then he gives her a vial with a poison in, I'm guessing, and he takes her to a room with a man that's a dead man, and he peels his face off. I don't know if he did actually peel his face off, but he goes in there, she goes in there, he gives her the vial, and he basically tells her that he's found a target for her to kill. And that is her next assignment, which is good as well, because that'll basically put her to the next level, and if she completes that, then I'm pretty sure Jaqen will accept her as a faceless man as well. So she finds her target is actually a person in a play, and that is what she moves on to afterwards. So the next scene sees Arya going to watch the performance, and it actually turns out to be a play featuring her father. It's got Cersei, Tyrion, Robert, and Joffrey in. It's pretty hard for her to watch because it ends up with her seeing her father lose his head again, which is pretty disturbing to her. And then Sansa comes out, and then she gets stripped naked by Tyrion. It's pretty brutal for her to watch because it reminds her of her being Arya Stark and her past, everything she's been through, which is, probably another test done by Jaqen, to put her through some more pain, just to see if she'll come out the other side as strong as a faceless man should be. Then Arya manages to slip backstage of the performance, and she identifies the target, the woman playing Cersei, and she, gets an idea of how she's going to poison her. She finds that she's the only one that drinks rum, I do believe it was, or some kind of drink. She's the only one that manages to drink it, so she finds the glass or whatever it is that she's going to use to poison her, and she takes that information back to Jaqen, to go through her plan to him. Then we get one of the best scenes of the episode as Bran and Bloodraven go into another vision. It goes back a long time, back to the Children of the Forest, and we finally get to see the origins of the White Walkers. It turns out the Children of the Forest made the White Walkers as a weapon against the First Men that came over to invade their land, which is awesome. As you can see, Leaf, I'm pretty sure that's Leaf, stabs the man with what looks like dragon glass, basing it off what we saw at Hardhome with Jon and the dragon glass. That looks to me like dragon glass. Now they kind of like place it in his chest, and it obviously turns him into a White Walker. And I'm pretty sure that is the Night's King that is created right there. And then it goes back. Bran comes out of the vision, and he is confronted by Leaf staring right at him, which was awesome as well. And she explains that they had to create the White Walkers in order to, use them as a weapon because the Children of the Forest were dying out. They were getting slaughtered, and as you can see, if you rolled it back, there was only about half a dozen of them, Children of the Forest there. So there really wasn't many of them left. Obviously, the weapons were supposed to be controlled weapons, but at the end of the day, the White Walkers have gone all rogue, and then they're their own species now, and they've created a massive problem for the whole world. Now we get to move over to the Iron Islands, where we manage to see the Kingsmoot, which basically is ceremony carried out by Balion's own brother, Damphair, the drowned priest over there, and we get to see Yara stand up for the position of the Salt Throne, basically the leader and the ruler of the Iron Islands, and it's going pretty well. She gets backed up by Theon after getting, kind of like denied by just some random man of the Iron Islands, saying that Theon, Balon's own heir, should be the person that leads the Iron Islands. But Theon manages to, for a split second there, you think Theon's going to, make his own claim, but eventually he does, tell the people that Yara is the rightful leader that they should go for, because obviously everything she's been through, she's basically better than anyone on the Iron Islands. And then it's going pretty well, and then all of a sudden, the crowd parts like the Red Sea, and then the main man himself, Euron Greyjoy, steps up, and he makes his own claim, basically, puts jokes towards Theon about not having a dick, and how Yara's a girl, and all sorts of stuff like that. He makes his own claim, and he manages to rally the people, and basically, he is successfully elected as the person to rule the Iron Islands. He talks about Daenerys, the other side of the sea, and how he plans to go over there with all of the ships he's going to have, and basically, with his big cock, he even says himself, he's going to go over there and, team up with the Dragon Queen. She's got 3 dragons, and basically they're going to rule the world together. Euron goes through the ceremony, and he basically wakes up after being drowned by the drowned priest. He wakes up as the new leader, and the first thing he does after putting on the crown is that he decides he wants to go and kill his niece and nephew. But little do they know that Theon and Yara have actually escaped on some little boats. They managed to get to their ships. I'm not sure if they took all the ships, because there was only a few dozen of the men that went with Theon and Yara, and there was like, a good 100 or so ships there. So I don't know if they took all of them. They might have just took the best ones. Basically, they sailed off. It's not clear where they went, but I'm 99% sure they went over to get to Daenerys, and before Euron could, because obviously we've seen the trailer. Yara is in Volantis, I do believe. So that gives you a good idea that she made the stop there before she gets to Daenerys to warn her probably about Euron, who was coming over to try and basically seduce her. We move back over to Vaes Dothrak, where Daenerys is beginning to slowly move out of the city with, of course, the absolutely incredibly large army she has of Dothraki behind her. Now, it's not clear where she's going, but I'm probably guessing she's going to go back to the cities where she tried to take over before, because obviously things have gone a little bit down south back there, so she probably wants to go back, restore order before going back to Westeros in the near future episodes. So she goes and confronts not Dario. She goes and confronts Dario and of course Sir Jorah Mormont, and he actually shows her his grayscale. I didn't think he was going to do that because obviously I thought he was going to keep it hidden, but he wants to be truthful with her. He admits he loves her, that Tyrion was right. He shows her the grayscale. Now he turns away to go, obviously, to leave her because he doesn't feel he's safe around her with this illness. So he walks off, and then she commands him to follow her, and she commands him to go and find a cure. Now it's not sure whether there is a cure. Obviously, Princess Shireen had it before, but I'm pretty sure she survived it because she was really young and they found it really quick. And obviously, Stannis had all the money in the world to go and find all the healers around the world to help her. Now, Jorah isn't in that situation, so he gets, not really banished, but told to go and find a cure. So he ends up riding off. Now, it's not too clear what will happen. I don't think he will find the cure. I'm pretty sure he's destined to die, probably in this season. I'm pretty sure he'll die towards the end, probably saving Dany again for like the third time now. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully he comes back and saves her. But obviously now Dany is alone with Dario. Now it gets pretty tricky. What's going to happen there? He's a little bit, not really safe around her. I'm pretty sure he's a little bit dodgy. So hopefully in the future, Jorah can come back and save Daenerys again from Dario. Then we go back over to Meereen, where we get this quick scene with Varys, Tyrion, and they get confronted by the Red Priestess, which is Kinvara. She's basically on their side, and Tyrion wants her to go around the city, spread good truths around about Daenerys. Obviously, we'll get all of the common people on her side, and hopefully stop the violence. And then it goes a bit more in depth, and obviously we get to see that Kinvara actually knows more about Varys, and we get into that position where Varys is pretty scared, pretty shocked about what he's heard. He's never really been in that position before because obviously he's the master of spies, master of whisperers. He knows everything about everyone. He's always 5 steps ahead of everyone, always prepared. And then basically she starts talking about how she knows about Varys' past, about what happened to him as a kid, and basically she reveals that he is actually kind of like a follower of the Lord of Light himself. Which puts us in that predicament that basically he is more than we know of in the show so far. So now we move on to the final kind of third of the episode, and this is where it kind of gets a little bit intense. Everything starts piecing together, and this is where the episode manages to turn from really good to absolutely incredible. Now Bran, being a little bit curious and stuff like that, is sitting in the tree bored. Throws a bit of bone at the three-eyed raven. He doesn't wake up, so he thinks, you know what, I'm going to be a little bit brave, and he touches the weirwood tree, and he goes into a vision by himself. He goes into the past, and as he didn't really expect it, he didn't really know where he was going, but he lands up in front of the White Walker army. Now, it's not, you have no idea where they are, whether this is now or, ages ago, but he ends up in front of the army, absolutely incredibly large White Walker army. He walks through them. They don't react to him at first. They're just standing there. He manages to walk straight through the middle of them, and then at the front, or at the back, is the Night's King with, 3 of the White Walkers on horseback. And then he turns around, Bran turns around to see the White Walkers have actually turned around, or the Whites have turned around, and are now looking at him. And now he panics, turns around again, and then boom, the Night's King has got off of his horse and manages to grab him on the arm. Now, this is what we saw in the trailer. Obviously we thought this was going to be, some sort of flashback, which it was. And it was incredible because he then comes out of the vision and lands at the weirwood tree. Now, everyone's awoken, Bloodraven's up, everyone's around him, and he realises that the White Walker King, or the Night's King, actually left a mark on his arm, which is kind of like a tracking device slash something that allows the power of the tree to vanish, so the White Walkers can actually get into the tree now. Because obviously we saw, a couple of seasons ago where the Whites weren't actually allowed in the tree because of the forces that powered them were useless here. But now obviously they can get in because of the Night's King has marked Bran, on the wrist. So that was awesome. Now the Bloodraven tells them that they have to leave, so they start packing up. And then we go to another shot. And they end up going back into a vision. So now we go back to the wall where Sansa and Jon have got their little team or little council assembled. Melisandre, Davos, Tormund, Brienne, and Dolorous Edd as well, which is pretty cool because they've got a giant map on the table and they're kind of just going through all the houses in the north, deciding which ones can help them, which ones are their enemies, so on and so forth. Now they decide, obviously they know that The Karstarks and the Umbers are against them, which is probably the two biggest houses in the north, other than the Starks. But there is a few more left that they can gather. The Manderleys they consider, as well as a few smaller ones as well, such as the Mormonts, which you heard from a few seasons ago, back when I think it was Lyanna Mormont, Jorah Mormont's niece, sent a letter to Stannis declaring that she only knelt for the Starks in the north, which is awesome as well, because it shows they've still got a few friends in the north that are willing to help them in these times as well. Now Jon decides obviously they need all of their small houses together, which could equal the sizes of the Umbers and Karstarks, as well as maybe the Bolton's army as well. So they've got a chance. Slowly but surely they're building their armies, and probably in the next couple of episodes we'll see Davos and Jon and maybe Sansa as well split up to go and find and ask for help from these special families, special houses in the north as well. So then we get this brief shot of Sansa and Brienne. Brienne confronts Sansa in her chambers at the Wall regarding Jon, people she trusts, and Sansa says she trusts Jon. She trusts Jon more than anyone in this world. When Brienne just says, "How come you lied to him?" Because in the previous scene, when they're all around the table, Sansa mentions that her uncle Edmure, the Blackfish, has forces at the River Run. Jon asks her how she knows this, and she says that she heard Ramsay talking about it, when in reality she knows this because she went to meet Littlefinger behind everyone's back to get this information. Well, she didn't get it, but she got told this information. So she lied to Jon. Whether or not she did this, I don't know why she did this. Some people could presume she's going to betray Jon. Maybe she doesn't trust him fully. Maybe she took on board what Littlefinger said about him being only her half brother. So maybe he's some sort of threat to her. Who knows? But I'm pretty sure she didn't tell him, because I'm pretty sure if Jon found out that Littlefinger was still alive, he'd probably go down there and kill him himself, to be honest, after everything that he's put her through, put his family through with regards to killing Ned and all that stuff as well. Okay, so now this is where shit starts to go downhill. We're in the final scenes of the episode, and as you can see, Meera is in the cave with Hodor. Now, they had a nice conversation about food, what they want when they go home, and then all of a sudden, Meera realises the temperature has dropped. You can see the like the smoke or the cold air in front of her. So she rushes outside, and then the children of the forest are staring there. And in front of them is the giant White Walker army. Obviously, they've trapped them down because of the mark on Bran's arm, and they're ready to completely destroy the tree and everyone inside of it. Again, we get another flashback. Well, not a flashback. It's actually Bran in this vision. This time he's at Winterfell again. And we get a little scene of Ned, or Bran's father Ned, with his father and his brother Benjen as well, and they're off to the Eyrie, I think they're off to as well. So that was pretty nice to see as well. And then stuff starts to go really, really bad. Obviously, the White Walkers and the Whites overwhelm the tree because they can get into it due to Bran's, mark on his arm. So they start overwhelming. Children of the Forest start being killed, and then Summer ends up dying, sacrificing himself. Well, that was pretty stupid, because you only end up taking out like one walker, and you just got bundled by the Whites and stabbed to death. So that was another direwolf gone, which is really, really upsetting, because now there's only Ghost and Nymeria somewhere out in the Riverlands. So it's probably a matter of time until they die as well, unless they use them as some sort of power play with the Starks. So that'd be pretty awesome. But yeah, Leaf sacrifices herself with one of their like grenade things, whatever they are. So they, managed to stall the Whites for like another 30 seconds or so to get Meera, Hodor, and Bran out of the tree. Obviously, Bran is warged still in his vision, and this is where it gets complicated. He's in his vision, and then in his, his past vision, he wargs into Hodor from the past to the future. So the future, like the present day Hodor, it gets warged into, and then kind of like comes out of the warg, and then he changes his mind and starts helping Meera out. But then the past Hodor is affected by this as well somehow. It's kind of like a continuum loop from past and present day. It's really weird. It's really hard to explain. And then the past Hodor starts having a seizure on the floor, and he starts shouting, hold the door," because that is what Meera starts shouting to Hodor when they get out of the door. They get chased by the White, and Hodor is left behind to stop the door from opening, so Meera and Bran can escape. It's a really, really sad ending. Obviously, it's a really, really awesome ending as well. but it's difficult to watch because Hodor gets left to die, with Mira shouting hold the door at him, and that is what happens in his present day mind. Goes back to his past day as well, so he starts screaming hold the door as a young boy on the floor at Winterfell, which is pretty sad. And then the episode ends. My first ever Game of Thrones review, just general video on my YouTube channel. Now, if you enjoyed it, make sure you smash that like button. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more Game of Thrones videos, that'd be absolutely incredible. Hopefully I can do a review for every episode from now on, so that's like 5 more. And then hopefully a preview from the trailer for the next episode as well. Maybe some predictions in between as well for different characters, so on and so forth. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.